You wake up one morning and the world is slightly quieter than it used to be. Colors seem a little duller. Faces across the fire look a little blurrier. If this happened to you today, you'd book an appointment, get glasses, maybe a hearing aid, and move on with your week. Now imagine, this happens to you 40,000 years ago. No appointments, no glasses, no hearing aids, just you, slowly losing two of the senses that keep you alive, in a world where losing your senses usually meant losing your life. So here's the actual question. Did ancient humans go deaf and blind more than we do today? And the answer is going to mess with everything you assumed about the good old days. Let's start with the assumption most people carry around without realizing it. We tend to imagine ancient humans as having almost superhuman senses. Eagle-eyed hunters spotting prey from a mile away, ears so sharp they could hear a twig snap across a valley. And there's some truth buried in that. Ancient humans absolutely developed sharper baseline senses than most modern people, simply because survival demanded constant use of them. But here's the twist. Nobody talks about. Sharper doesn't mean protected, and used constantly often means damaged constantly. Ancient eyes and ears weren't shielded from the world. They were thrown directly into it, unprotected, for an entire lifetime, with absolutely nothing standing between them and the things that destroy vision and hearing. Let's talk about the eyes first, because the ancient world was, frankly, brutal on them. Smoke was everywhere. Every single night, humans sat around open fires in enclosed caves and shelters with no chimney, no ventilation, nothing pulling that smoke up and out. That smoke sat right at eye level for hours, every single night, for an entire lifetime. Modern research on populations who still cook over open indoor fires today shows dramatically higher rates of cataracts and chronic eye irritation directly linked to a lifetime of smoke exposure. Ancient humans were living that reality every single day of their lives, starting in infancy. Then there's the sun. No sunglasses, no brimmed hats in many environments. Populations living in high glare. Regions, savannas, deserts, snowfields were exposed to UV radiation bouncing directly into their eyes for decades, and UV exposure is one of the leading drivers of cataracts and macular degeneration. Combine constant smoke exposure with a lifetime of unfiltered UV, and you get a population that was almost certainly going cloudy-eyed and blurry far earlier than we do today. And then there's trauma, plain physical trauma. No safety goggles, no protective gear, hunting, accidents, falling branches, thorns, flying stone chips while napping tools, animal claws that missed the kill but caught the face. Archaeological analysis of ancient skeletal remains regularly turns up healed fractures around the eye socket, evidence of blunt trauma that, in a modern hospital, would be treated within the hour. In the ancient world, it just healed however it healed, scar tissue and all, sometimes with permanent vision loss as the price. Now here's where it gets genuinely dark, so let's sit with it for a second. If your vision failed you, in the ancient world, you didn't just lose the ability to see sunsets. You lost your ability to spot the predator crouched in the grass. You lost your ability to track prey, to see incoming danger from a distance, to do most of the physical tasks that kept your group alive. Blindness in a sentence waiting to happen, unless something else stepped in to save you. And something else did, because here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. The archaeological record shows blind and vision impaired individuals who lived to old age, well past the point where they could have contributed physically to hunting or gathering, which means groups were actively supporting them, feeding them, protecting them, not because it made cold evolutionary sense in the moment, but because human social bonds ran deeper than pure survival math. Care for the vulnerable is not a modern invention. It's ancient. It might be one of the oldest things about us. Now let's talk about hearing, because this one is sneaky. You'd think ancient life would be quieter than ours, and in some ways it was. No traffic, no jet engines, no headphones blasting bass into your eardrum. But ancient life had its own brutal noise sources, and they were day after day, for an entire working life. Close-range exposure to the roar of large animals during hunts and confrontations. environmental noise from waterfalls, storms, and in some regions, active volcanic activity that populations lived alongside for generations. None of this came with ear protection. None of it came with breaks recommended by a doctor. It just accumulated across a lifetime, and modern hearing damage research tells us clearly repeated loud impact. Noise causes progressive, permanent hearing loss. There's also something else working against ancient ears that we rarely consider: infection. Chronic, untreated ear infections, common in populations without antibiotics or basic hygiene tools, don't just hurt. Over time, they scar the eardrum and damage the delicate structures of the inner ear permanently. A modern ear infection gets antibiotic drops and clears in a week. An ancient ear infection just ran its course, sometimes taking a piece of your hearing with it forever. So picture this. You're 35 years old, ancient timeline, which is already approaching old age by prehistoric standards. Your eyes are clouded from decades of smoke and sun. Your hearing is dulled from a lifetime of impact, noise, and untreated infections. In the modern world, this is manageable: glasses, hearing aids, cataract surgery that takes 20 minutes. In the ancient world, this is your new permanent reality: no correction, no fix, just adaptation or reliance on the people around you. And this is really the heart of the whole answer. Yes, ancient humans very likely lost their hearing and vision earlier and more severely than most people do today because they lacked every single protective tool we now take completely for granted: filtered air, sun protection, safety equipment, antibiotics, corrective lenses, surgery. But the story doesn't end with decline. It ends with something almost the opposite. Because sensory loss in the ancient world forced something remarkable to develop: community-level compensation. Blind elders became keepers of oral history and story, information that younger, sharper-eyed hunters desperately needed. Deaf or hard of hearing individuals likely became hyper-attuned to visual cues, subtle body language, tracking signs, patterns others missed because their brains reallocated resources. Exactly the way modern research shows sensory-deprived brains still do today. Sensory loss didn't erase these people from the group. It repositioned them. Different role, same value. So the next time you put on your glasses in the morning, or turn up the volume slightly because your hearing isn't quite what it used to be, remember this: you are living inside centuries of accumulated protective technology that ancient humans never had access to, not for one single day of their lives. Their eyes and ears took a beating ours will never have to take. And yet they built entire civilizations, raised generations of children, and passed down everything they knew. Some of them doing it while barely able to see the fire in front of them, or barely able to hear the voices around it. That's not decline. That's resilience wearing a very quiet, very blurry disguise.